Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, the 26th of February. I want to talk about several things today, but mainly that something needs to be done right now to avert a disastrous outcome, which I think we're all clear about, that we're going toward that. And well, over the last few days, again, suddenly came up in my box in, videos to watch. And it was German Bavarian prophets, which brought back to memory, which I already knew that, but it had kind of gone out of awareness, what they had actually prophesied would happen in the Third World War, and that the outcomes are, I think, much more disastrous than a lot of people are actually thinking or can think it is going to be. Now, one of the prophecies that came back to awareness was what I had already heard from Rose Stern, I think was her name, and she got it from the Nostradamus prophecies. And as I said, other seers in Germany had seen the same thing. And I think seen it in Germany because it was close to the point where it will happen. So what Rose Stern was referring to as der gelbe Streifen, the yellow line, which the others also talked about, which is a biological chemical attack that will go straight across Germany. And as one of the seers said, in Germany, more people will die in 72 hours than in the two world wars combined. Another thing the seer said, one of them said anyway, or so foresaw, was what Putin has just threatened to England. He saw the destruction of England by a wall of water. I mean, the island being gone, apart from a few mountains looking out of the sea. And he made that prediction in the 1950s. Also, the way that he described the chemical attack was obviously an description of the usage of drones, which at that point, the knowledge of drones would not have been, and he was a very plain, normal, down-to-earth man, so they said he did not have a great deal of imagination. So he could not have imagined drones, but he saw them. So this was brought back to my awareness, those prophecies of outcomes, possible outcomes. I'm saying possible outcomes. The future is not written, we are creating it. So, and I'm fear-mongering here. Yes, absolutely I am, folks. I am fear-mongering. You should feel fear at contemplating an outcome like that. You should feel fear. If you are a rational, normal human being, you should feel fear. And the next thing is your fear should actually turn into anger. When you're contemplating who is doing that and what the outcome would be, your fear should turn into anger. You should be angry at those that are even thinking such a thing. That is a normal reaction. That is a normal reaction. And you should feel that. Because if you think about it, I have talked about Fauci before, and the way he's going on, which to us seems lunacy, because we know what he has done. The evidence of what he has done is mounting, and yet he seems to sit there completely oblivious of any kind of danger that he's in, or there does not seem to be, well, remorse obviously is not there, but there doesn't seem to be any fear there either. So then to those that actually say, well, you become an enlightened being if you let go of fear and anger and the fear of consequences, to hell with the consequences. If you let go of all of that, you are a completely enlightened being. Well, by that definition, folks, Fauci is an enlightened being. By that definition, those are enlightened beings because they've done precisely that. And by seeing them sitting there and saying what they're saying, and by their whole demeanor, you can see they've done it. So either they are enlightened beings, or there's something wrong with your definition of an enlightened being. Which I would go with the second. There's something wrong with your definition. I want to talk about David Icke. Sorry, and I am laughing, and I've been laughing for days, but it is not at his pain. Yeah, I'm not laughing at the pain of another human being, but just at the ridiculousness of it all. Yeah? So, he is one of the first shouting this. Let go of fear, to hell with the consequences. This world is an illusion. Forget it. Don't feel anything. It's an illusion anyway. It doesn't matter. So, sorry, David, I apparently ran against the wall and dislocated his shoulder. So what happened there, mate? Wall was solid, was it? And did you stand there and say, well, to hell with the consequences? Or did you actually have to go to A&E to have somebody fix the consequences of your action, which were, I dare say, painful? Yeah? It is ridiculous what they're saying. And I don't know, David, did they all try to tell you something there about the existence of reality? Maybe you should have learned that lesson. Anyway, so that is where we're at. But, as I said, we need to do something. We need to do something. We are the ones we're waiting for. We are the ones that should save ourselves. We are the ones that should get rid of the lunatics. We are the ones. If we're waiting for something else to come, if there is something else that can come, that will rule over us. We will not be free. The only way we will be free is if we're doing it ourselves. And in order to do it ourselves, we need to become again that which can do that. Because many of us have become something that is incapable of doing what needs to be done. Again, purely by suppressing natural energies that we have of fear, of anger. We've put them to the bottomless pit. Yeah, we're now standing there all sweetness and night and let them kill millions and make sure to forgive them. So we must become again what a true human being actually is. Because a true human being will not be ruled over, but it has got ways of defending itself and ways of restoring justice. And that is not just, I forgive you. Now, this is one of the culprits, obviously, of what's happening at the moment. And it is not the book itself, but it is the wrong teaching of what this book actually says. It shows you your energies, what you do, what happens when you're under fear, and what the outcomes will be, what it can do, how fear can serve you. And it shows you how compassion can serve you in the New Testament. It doesn't say make a choice. You need to be only one or the other. That is not what it's saying. But it says they're all within you. They are part of your kingdom. Use them in the correct way when needed. What will serve you most? They're all your servants. What will serve you most in any given situation? That's what it's showing, and that's what you should be doing with it. So again, for us to become the saviors of ourselves, first of all, we must become the fullness of ourselves again. And and it also shows you to what amount. So being in sin means missing the mark. That's what it means. There was a point of light, of justice, of having set things right. And then there's a way of where you shoot straight past that. You've missed the point. You've missed the mark. You are in sin again. And I say one of the stories that was brought to awareness that shows that so clearly is when the Hebrews went up against the Chaldeans. Yeah? And yes, we know now they were sacrificing their children, which anger should have risen at. That, again, for a human being, you should be angry at that. And you should want to save. So their anger rose and it went into wrath, and they went in there and they killed all. Everything. Anything that moved, anything that had breath, they killed the lot. Yeah, I mean, talk about missing the mark ever so slightly. But that is what we must learn. To what amount? Have the correct target. Who is actually doing it? At the moment, again, in Ukraine, we're killing each other instead of going up against them that are actually doing it. I was thinking about learning from history, and that is the Nuremberg trials. So many are saying there should be Nuremberg trials coming up, but then make very sure that you understood what happened there. Yeah? They brought forward a few dozen sacrificial lambs. And I'm kind of wondering if some of them went actually willingly, sacrificing themselves for the greater good being the intention of, we will have dominion over this place one way or another, and if this attempt failed, we will build back better. So I'm wondering if some of them actually went willingly, sacrificing themselves for this great idea of, we shall rule over all. And whilst the world was transfixed, looking at that sacrifice, hundreds got away behind their backs, were smuggled out. So there's something we need to learn, and we must know really what actually happened there, and we must be aware of that and not let it happen again. And then we must be aware of how justice works. When can we forgive, and when we cannot forgive because there's no repentance? What do we do then? And that's the last point I want to talk about. And that is when the 10 Commandments clearly say, you shall not kill. And that, again, the knowledge, written by the finger of God himself, written in stone, is the knowledge of life. I am life. Life says, if you want to preserve life, if that is your intention, not to have dominion over it, but to sustain it, to give to it, to be a part of it, of life, then you cannot kill. Now they can, because their intention is not to serve life. Their intention is to serve this world, to rule over everything else. And the will to rule over everything else uses life as a tool. And life is nothing other than it can be used. And as I said, if there were those in the Nuremberg trials that actually went to be hung willingly, then they had come into agreement with that within themselves. This is nothing. I am nothing. So they can sacrifice life, but if you are for life itself, you can't, because that would be a contradiction. Even your own life. See, Jesus was given the knowledge of, and again, that was given by life, the knowledge that he was given to create and sustain life. And when he went and sacrificed his own, that knowledge had left him. Whatever was guiding him had left him at the cross. Because you cannot destroy life, not even your own. And it's not a question of math, I think. So he said, I'm giving 1, 2, well, for him, I think it was just the Jews. But even at that, the knowledge had left him. That was not the way. So then, no, we cannot go that way, and we cannot use math as justification. So many saved, well, sacrifice that many for. We need to find another way to get it completely right. But, as I said, and here we go, in order to do that, we must first of all become the fullness of ourselves. We need to have knowledge of danger. We need to have fear. We need to have anger against injustice. If we don't have anger against injustice, then how do you want justice? We should be afraid of the sadness of loss. We should. We should have the knowledge of what compassion can work, but know its limitations. And that is all of that, the knowledge of ourselves, to become that which will save us. And then first of all, we need to get out of the idea that this is nothing. Yeah? I mean, if you still want to go with that, then you can maybe do David's experiment, see if you have a different outcome. We must resurrect anger and fear, sadness, everything that we were told are negative emotions. They're not. They are there to serve us. And we must learn to use them correctly. To what amount and when have we shot past the mark? Again, we are then in sin. Yeah? And really find a way. But first of all, we must become again. We must become human beings. And those, I mean, as I said, if the doing away with fear and anger, or the doing away with fear is an enlightened human being, then by that definition, Fauci is enlightened. So I would think about that. Anyway, I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.